everyone, and welcome to another Marks & Crafts figurine review. Today I'm going to be looking at the S.H.Figuarts Anya forger from the series Spy Family, or Spy X Family depending on how you feel like pronouncing it. Anyway, this is an S.H.Figuarts, which is basically a scaled posable figure, and I've looked at the Naruto ones previously, as well as did a big unboxing video of a bunch of S.H.Figuarts, this one included. But I only had a very brief look at it at that time, so today we're going to have a much more in-depth look at this figure. And from the outset, you can see that there's a nice little window into the figure itself. You can see the character art splashed on the front, much like every other one we've looked at so far. There's a few more images on the side, a bunch of promo images on the back, and you can see what sort of poses you can get them into, as well as the alternate faces. Now, it's pretty clear that posability is not Anya's strong suit, and it'll most likely be the detail and faces that she comes with, because she's tiny and her dress will most likely limit any actual posability you can get out of this figure, which is unfortunate, but it's something to keep the consistency of the figure itself. And it's not super expensive, at least not at retail, but it might be later on, just because S.H.Figuarts aftermarket is kind of nuts depending on what figure you're after. But at the moment of recording, this is a pretty inexpensive figure and captures her likeness quite well. So let's open her up and have a better look. Now, like I was doing with the Naruto S.H.Figuarts, if you extend the box, you can see the full character art on the side, which looks nice. So, out of the box, you can see she doesn't come with a whole lot, but she doesn't really need to. She doesn't have any accessories in terms of like additional things to her. She's got swappable hands and swappable faces. That's it. So she's very similar to a lot of the more recent sort of Dragon Ball figures, where you get faces and you get hands and no real effect pieces. But unlike the Naruto ones and things like that, we don't have something for her to hold or like a weapon or effect or anything like that. It's just a very bare bones figure. She's got alternate hands and alternate faces, but that's pretty much the standard that you need for something like this. So we'll go through everything that you get. So here's Anya out of the box and just quickly set up, and you can see she's quite small. Here's my finger for scale, and I'll probably grab something else for scale as well so you can see how she goes. She is very small, which is pretty accurate to the show itself, but she is also a child, which is going to be smaller regardless. But because it's a smaller figure than like a traditional S.H.Figuarts, there are certain compromises that need to be made to make it work, and a lot of that comes down to a sacrifice of posability, both due to the outfit and due to the size of the figure. So we will be getting into that, but first we're just going to quickly have a look at the aesthetics of the figure itself. So I'm going to bring it closer, and you can see the base faceplate that we've got on here is beautifully detailed, looks fantastic. The hair color is on point, it's nice and shaded. They've painted her little, I don't know what you call those, they're like little hair accessories, little horns. We've got the little bow tie thing on her pajamas. It is a bit rubberized, so it can bend a little bit, but I don't know why you would. There's her little arms, her legs, and some more paintwork at her socks and shoes. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's an incredibly simple figure, but it's all a matter of execution. And I know that there's like the Nendoroids of the Spy Family characters, in particular Anya, and they actually share very similar standard faces. I'll pop one up in the video right about now. I don't like the standard face on the Nendoroid. I think this one looks way better, especially because it's like a scaled sort of figure, so it works quite good. Just gonna leave her on the floor because she's quite hard to pose. But you also get alternate faces, and I think these alternate faces are what really sold me on this figure. So we've got a bright and happy smile, which looks really good. We've got a shocked face, which also looks incredible. We've got her smug, her smug heh face, which looks good as well. Very, very, very well executed. It's something they try to do with every Anya figure, and I just don't think it works. But here, I think it's quite good. And then her sort of like up to something plodding smug face, which also looks fantastic. Also in the box, we get 2 open palm expression hands. They're just a little bit dynamic. I couldn't grab the other one, but you also get 2 fists, which I also don't know what you'd really use them for. These hands, like, they're fine to have alternate hands, and I think we just have alternate hands for the sake of having alternate hands. But there's not a whole lot you can do with these. And there's generally not a whole lot you can do with this figure except make it look really, really good next to other figures, which we'll also get into. Because I think that she will sort of become a mainstay in my collection as sort of a reaction tool to other figures, and she just works well in dioramas, as I've worked one out, and there'll hopefully be a photo on screen of it right now of what I plan to do with it. But yeah, so this is a simple figure, but it executes what it needs to execute fairly well. Next we'll go posability. So there's a ball joint at the neck. Unfortunately, you can't get much out of it due to the nature of the figure itself, because her hair gets in the way. But if you wanted a better look at it, you can just remove her hair and face, so you can see there's the ball joint, and it's got good movement. It's just that you can't get anything out of that because of the hair. Pop on a different face while we do that. You can see it looks very good. Next, we've got ball joint at the arm. You can't get too much out of it, again, because of the hair. And there's a hinge, double hinge at the arm. I think it's a double hinge. It might just be a single hinge at the arm. Then you get ball joint at the hand, but you can't get much out of it because that's just how it is. You've got further down, you can see the dress can separate just a little bit, and it is flexible, but it's not, like, it's still a bit rigid. It's mainly if you were able to get her into walking poses and things like that. Nothing that you want to stress the figure too much on, just because you might cause like actual creases or breakages. I do know that there's a third-party company that's done a cloth dress that really, really helps quite a bit, because there is an actual like waist swivel and knee bends and kicks and things like that, but you can't get it out of this figure just because of how restrictive the dress is. So you can see here's the knee bend, and it can only go to 90 degrees because of the dress. And again, there's the waist swivel. The foot can pivot that far down and that far up, and it can rotate at the ball joint and pivot at the ball joint as well. So yeah, it's an incredibly simple figure for posability. I think it's pretty lacking, unfortunately. Hopefully the school uniform Anya that they're doing after this will be better, because I think the skirt or the figure has been designed differently, so I'm hoping we get more posability. I'm not too sure, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's what we've got, unfortunately. So yeah, it's just an incredibly simple figure. It comes down to how you pose it in certain dioramas. She herself will not be the dynamic factor of the display, but I think that she breathes a lot of life into any display. But yeah, even though the posability is lacking and things like that, the figure itself is inexpensive. It's very well done. I think they executed the face perfectly, which makes me forgive most of the other shortcomings of the figure. But she needs to stand on a flat. But she needs to stand on a flat surface because her feet are tiny. She's very top heavy. She can fall over at the simplest breeze. And it's a bit of a shame. You need to be very careful when posing her. You can't distribute the weight properly like you could other figures, and a lot of that comes down to the lack of movement because of the dress. So it's a bit of a shame. Not a perfect figure, but not a bad one either, especially because it's fairly inexpensive. But yeah, that's just how it goes. So I don't really hate it, don't really love it, but I'm happy to have it in the collection because I know what I'm going to do with it. But yeah, unsure if I would recommend it. It would fit into a nice Spy Family display with the other S.H.Figuarts ones. I'm not particularly interested in getting those, at least not the first release ones, because they did announce they'll do home clothes ones later, and I hope those ones will be way better. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed that video, and I'll see you all next time.